Hey everybody, this is Ron. We're going to go ahead and hit day 2 of our Inner Excellence and Lego build. We're going to start with the second set of flowers here. So we're going to go ahead and get this set up and then we'll zoom in. This particular portion of it for the relaxation is going to be roses, as you can see below.
Life in our day. You must ruthlessly eliminate hurry. Especially not prioritizing your one thing. When your life purpose or mission is not clear, many things can steal your energy. You'll be pulled in many directions and your boundaries will be unclear. When you ruthlessly eliminate hurry, you're more intentional with your actions and attentive with your eyes. You'll see more. You'll realize that God didn't give you a life that you don't have time for. In our busyness, we lose our true selves with our ability to be present. We eventually become numb to all around us, beauty and everything else. To be fully present takes time. There is no other way. Busyness, for most of us, is really a compulsive search for affirmation and approval. The problem is, if we ever get the approval we want, it's always fleeting. It never stays because we're on the wrong path, searching for approval. When we're going in the wrong direction, we must hurry because we're never getting what we truly want. But of course, the more we hurry, the more entrenched we become in busyness, and the farther and farther we get from fulfillment. Henry Nouwen, professor at Yale and Harvard, describes why we live in compulsive busyness. The answer is quite simple. Our identity or sense of self is at stake. The false self is a self which is fabricated, as Thomas Word says, by social compulsions. Compulsive is indeed the best adjective for the false self. It points to the need for ongoing and increasing affirmation. Who am I? I am the one who is liked, praised, admired, disliked, hated, or despised. Whether I'm a pianist, a businessman, or a millstone, what matters is how I am perceived by my world. If being busy is a good thing, then I must be busy. If having money is a sign of real freedom, then I must claim the money. If knowing many people proves my importance, I will have to make the necessary contacts. The compulsion manifests itself in the lurking fear of failing and the steady urge to prevent this by gathering more of the same. No work, no money, no friends. Without a clear path and purpose, self will be at the center of your life, which means you need to continually gather more of yourself, because self is a primary concern, and you can never have enough to be truly secure. With self at the center of your life, and no clear greater purpose, you continually circle around yourself and never find your true self. It's a dizzying, fruitless pursuit. Just as timeouts are called in sports, you need to take timeouts in your life in order to be present. If you don't take time to sharpen the saw, as author Stephen Covey suggests, your productivity decreases. There must be gaps in the busyness, a day every 90 minutes throughout the day, and one full day every 7 days. No work, projects, shopping, or anything on the to-do list. And one full year every 7 years. overdue. When we take one day a week to let go of our attachments and recharge, we can see with more clarity the beauty all around us, and gratitude follows naturally. If you're not grateful, there's a good chance busyness has squeezed it out of your life. Without gratitude, wisdom is not possible, at least not wisdom that understands the deep truth of who you are and what's possible in your life. The best possible life, absolute fullness of life, is one where we're fully present a majority of the time. This life follows a certain tempo. We can only function optimally when we live according to rhythms of work and rest, relaxation, and celebration. To be our best, we must walk by faith, not by sight. Listen more than we speak, and have strict boundaries around our energy and routines. We need times of silence and times of celebration. Only then can we be fully engaged, heart, mind, and body. True gratitude and humility are present only when you stop and really see, feel, and recognize all that you've been given to arrive here, as well as all that's possible tomorrow, even if tomorrow never comes. Self-consciousness and stress are greatly reduced when you take the time to orient your heart around what matters most, so you can be fully present. In your quest for extraordinary performance, make sure your desires are taking you where you want to go. If you aspire to absolute fullness of life, then focus your desires on love, wisdom, and courage. You'll develop a presence that will help you overcome obstacles and mental blocks, as you'll see in the next chapter, and teach you how to live. Key points from chapter 8. To be fully present is to be completely engaged in the moment, fully experiencing it, with no needs, no desires, and no thoughts of the outcome. 5 powerful ways to stay present in pressure situations. 1. Get out of your head and into your heart and soul. 2. Focus on your routines and only what you can control. 3. Be grateful. 4. Focus on a mantra. 5. Ruthlessly eliminate hurry. In our busyness, we become numb to our senses and lose out on the creativity, insight, and dreams that come with being present. When you embrace what you cannot change, you free yourself to find opportunities. To live in non-judgmental awareness is to be free to be your true self. One of the main ways we lose our presence is from judgment, when we deliver a negative verdict on our circumstances, others, or ourselves. Follow-up questions and activities. Observe your level of presence throughout the day. Notice times when you're frustrated or upset, or your mind is simply in the past or future, as well as moments when you're present. Keep an index card in your pocket and check off the number of times during the day when you were present. See if you can increase that number the next day. Practice getting out of your head and into your heart. Imagine you're a neutral bystander, or perhaps a researcher or a journalist observing your thoughts. How does the act of observing your thoughts affect those thoughts? Notice how you can see and feel more beauty when you let go of control and get out of your head. Get in the habit of keeping a journal to collect data on your thoughts and feelings each day. How did those thoughts and feelings affect your ability to be present? You may start by listing a few things for which you're grateful. You may also write phrases or just words, whatever comes to mind in your stream of consciousness. Pick one of the 5 ways that help us to be present, and focus on that guideline for one full day. Do the same for each of the other 4. On the 6th day, practice getting centered and present with any of the 5 ways whenever you notice you're not present. Practice taking time outs, from as little as 1 minute to a full day. during which you work on being silent, present, and grateful. Chapter 9, Unstoppable. How to overcome mental blocks, fears, and phobias. He's not going to make it. He's not comfortable being uncomfortable. Lou Piniella, Major League Baseball manager, speaking about a rookie's frustration with failure at spring training. In 1982, the Los Angeles Dodgers had a second baseman named Steve Sax, who earned the National League Rookie of the Year award. Early the following season, Sax made a relay from the outfield to the catcher that bounced off the catcher's shin guard, allowing the runner on third base to score. Sax recalls, "It was the kind of thing that could happen to anyone, but I started thinking about this error way too much. It really got in my head. Then I looked in the newspaper and I saw that I had made a couple errors early in the season. I started to think, wow, I'm on pace to make 100 and something errors this year. So I began to place all this horrible pressure on myself. And of course I made a throwing error the next day. Then I made a couple more throwing errors later in the week. Pretty soon, I had this horrible monster in my head that I couldn't get rid of. After a couple months of regularly making throwing errors, I was sure that my career was in jeopardy. The more I worked at my throwing problem, the worse it got. Conventional wisdom says that if we work at something hard enough, we get over it. But that wasn't the case for me. The team and I tried everything. The Dodger brass would bring me out to second base at Dodger Stadium in the middle of the afternoon when nobody was there, blindfold me, and have me throw the ball to first base. I'd throw it to first base without any error every single time, blindfolded. But I just couldn't make the throw in the game. My low point was when I made a humongous error against the San Diego Padres. We were winning, then they hit one to me and I threw the ball away late in the game and we lost. About a week after the Padres game, I called home to talk to my dad. I couldn't get my mind off my throwing problem. It was like a bad piece of luggage that never went anywhere. And so gradually every conversation I had always led to that issue. My dad said, "Listen, I'm going to tell you something. One day you're going to wake up and the problem is going to be gone. I know because I went through this same problem when I played baseball in high school, and it can happen to anybody." When my dad said that, I understood that if this same problem could happen to somebody as formidable as my dad, someone who's that big and ominous, then maybe I'm not so weird. It could happen to anybody. 6 hours after speaking to his dad, his father passed away. But strengthened by his father's counsel, Sax slowly regained his confidence, and baseball became fun again. He didn't make an error in the last 36 games of the season, and in 1989, he had the highest fielding percentage among second basemen in the majors. He went on to become a 5-time All-Star, winning 2 World Series championships. Although Sax's situation worked out in the end, similar mental blocks have often ended people's careers. This is very unfortunate, because while it took Sax months of sleepless nights to sort out his problem, a mental block like this, or a major fear, or even phobia, can generally be cured easily and quickly, sometimes in just one session. In this chapter, I'm going to share with you how to overcome mental blocks like the one Steve Sax had, so you can learn and grow every day and be unstoppable. Perhaps you're thinking, I'm not a professional athlete, I don't need to know this. If so, I think you might want to reconsider. What happened to Sax happens in various ways to pretty much all of us. We all have subconscious minds that are always protecting us. This can lead to strange behavioral hiccups that can be hard to shake, like a professional baseball player losing his ability to do what little leaguers do easily, throw the ball from second base to first. I'll show you how it works. First, let's go back to Sax and see how his mental block got started. 1, he makes an error. 2, he felt bad about it. 3, he looks up his stats, thought about the future and how he could really feel bad if he kept it up. 4, he makes more errors. 5, he starts to obsess about it. And 6, he developed a major mental block, one that could have ended his career. The subconscious protector. As you're sitting here reading this book, or driving in your car listening to it, your subconscious mind is at work, attending to its three main jobs. These are: 1. Sift through all the incoming sensory information to decide what's relevant to you, and whether any of it is potentially dangerous, physically or emotionally. 2. Run your life in the background, so you don't have to think about every little thing you do. Just imagine if you had to fully think through every time you tied your shoes, brushed your teeth, or drove home from work. 3. Line up your circumstances and results with your beliefs. For example, let's say you believe you're a golfer who generally shoots in the 70s. If halfway through the round, you're on pace to shoot in the low 60s, your subconscious will try to get you closer to the 70s to match what you believe. Your subconscious doesn't care what you believe. It only cares that your life lines up with those beliefs. The subconscious task with which we're concerned in this chapter is the first one described above: sifting through sensory information, looking for physical or emotional danger. The brain that changes itself. We can rewire our brains. Every time you learn something new, a neural pathway is created that thoughts and feelings travel along. Scientists previously thought that our brains were like machines. Once they formed, they didn't really change. Now we know that our brains continuously evolve. According to Dr. Kirk Fisher, director of the Mind, Brain, and Education program at Harvard University, there are a few broad principles that have come out of neuroscience. Number 1 is that the brain is remarkably plastic. Even in middle or old age, it's still adapting very actively to its environment. In fact, new brain cells are being created over our entire lifetimes through the process of neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is a fancy word to describe how the brain physically recreates and reorganizes itself in response to the environment. This dynamic process allows us to learn and adapt to different experiences. The brain literally changes its physical connections and behavior in response to new information. What this means to you and I is that everything we watch, read, listen to, and experience is having an impact on our actual brains. The good news is that this means we can literally rewire our brains by giving it new information. And we can embed that information, idea, or feeling by repeating the same thought and feeling. The sky's the limit on what we want to embed and the neural pathways we want to create. It also means that strong feelings, such as fear or anxiety, can make new negative connections. And if we constantly think those thoughts and have those feelings, we create neural pathways that consistently take our minds and bodies places we don't want to go. Hello, mental blocks. How fears and phobias form. Mental blocks 2. The first thing to know about your subconscious is this: it puts all danger in the same file in your brain, whether it's physical or emotional. It doesn't differentiate between the fear of a tiger about to attack you and the fear of being attacked on Twitter or Instagram. To your brain, it's all the same. When you have a traumatic or embarrassing experience in your life, especially in your youth, your subconscious will lock in the memory so it can warn you in the future. By locking it in, I mean it'll memorize the context of the situation, who was there, what was said, anything relevant to the circumstances, so it can alert you the next time you face something similar. It warns you with anxiety or fear, or simply by trying to stop you from doing whatever it is you're about to do that you had a painful experience with in the past. Your subconscious doesn't need to protect you from good events, only painful ones. Thus, the painful ones get embedded in your psyche, so the subconscious can be on the lookout for them to protect you. Let's say you're a tennis player and you double fault in a particularly important situation. You start to think about it, and with that image in your mind, You do it again in a crucial situation. The first one was not a big deal, so your subconscious gave it a pass. But the second one was emotionally distressing, so your subconscious locked it in. Why? To protect you. Because the experience was emotionally distressing, your subconscious remembers it so it can keep you from going through it again. This is helpful if you touch a hot stove, get bitten by an alligator, or tweet out something you regret. But not helpful if it brings anxiety and fear to situations you purposefully put yourself in. It's this kind of anxiety and fear that can create mental blocks for us, even in, or especially in, situations where we're ordinarily masterful. PGA Tour golfer Tommy Armour came up with the term the yips to describe his issues with putting, which got so bad he had to retire. He called it a brain spasm that impairs the short game. Wikipedia describes the yips as the loss of fine motor skills in athletes, with no known treatment or therapy. Clearly, the Wikipedia people haven't heard of inner excellence. Most often, it's the easy tasks, not the difficult ones, that become mental blocks. The mind puts more pressure on yourself for the easy ones, because of social pressure to not screw up something easy. Not too many NFL kickers are going to have mental blocks on 55-yard field goals, but a lot of them have mental blocks for extra points. The second important thing to understand about the subconscious is what Sachs realized in talking to his dad. If you have a mental block like he or Tommy Armour had, it's not because you're weird or strange. It's actually the opposite. It means your subconscious is working perfectly. The same thing applies if you have a phobia of snakes or spiders, trains, or trapezoids. When I say phobia, I mean an excessive fear or anxiety of an object or situation, a fear so strong that it can dominate your life. And as I mentioned earlier, just as mental blocks can be overcome in a single session, so can phobias. You may have had a phobia your entire life and panic every time you see a flea or a ferret or think about flying. It doesn't matter how long you've had the phobia or how intense it is. No matter what it is, it can be cured forever. Let's say your friend has a phobia of spiders. How often does he panic when he sees a spider? Half the time? 8 out of 10 times? No. He panics 100% of the time. This is because his subconscious is working exactly as it should, working to protect him from the object of his fear. We're not born with fears, except perhaps the fear of loud noises or falling. The rest of our fears we've acquired, often in an instant. When you know how the subconscious works, you can also remove them just as quickly. Phobias develop in a similar way to Sachs' mental block. 1, an event happens that's emotionally painful or embarrassing. 2, the subconscious locks in the event, depending on the meaning you assign to it and the feeling you felt, to protect you in the future. 3, the subconscious adds this event and the context surrounding it to the list of things it will warn you about or protect you from it by physically disrupting your behavior with anxiety or fear. 4, the subconscious embeds the memory as deeply and strongly as the emotional pain surrounding it. 5, every time the subconscious recognizes a similar context, it replays the original painful event to warn you. And 6, a phobia or mental block surrounding the association is created. Have you ever wondered why some situations are uncomfortable to you without a logical reason? It could be a trigger or anchor. See Chapter 6. You know how that one song from high school always reminds you of that slow dance with sexy Susie or handsome Harry? The song triggers a memory. The memory triggers a feeling.
Okay. All right, so we have finished up both of the roses and the daisies. So this section, as everyone can see, we completed. the rose, or the rosa, like my mother's name, and we completed the blue daisy. So that's these two. We'll go ahead and put these into the vase, and we are good to go. So go ahead and move this up. Ta-da. Looks pretty good. All right, so we got these done. Pretty simple. So again, appreciate the like, appreciate the follow. I'll put these in the vase, like I said before. We are about 3 weeks out from the Rock and Roll Half in DC, and we will post it. So keep pushing, keep moving forward.